Mumbai. And you will see, and I suggest that all of you, take some time out to look at some of the panels created by the APLI team as well as the Columbia University team. And yeah, Meera, thank you so much for, leading this campaign.
Thank you so much. And a very big thank you to all of you for being here, because I think each of you have self-selected to come here. And for us, we very much hope as we go through the day that we can welcome you all onto the APLI Mumbai movement. Because this really is about our city, and many of us here feel passionately that this might well be the best and possibly the last chance for our city to reinvent and reimagine itself. So, Pratima talked about the APLI Mumbai movement, and I want to really start by acknowledging all these brilliant young people who have worked with us. Pratima herself. Aditi, please raise your hand. Where are you? Aditi? Mansi, Satyas, Mahesh, wonderful. This is the core group, and there have been many, many others, but this is the core group which has worked tirelessly day and night to help us put this together. Girish, the photographer. Mr. Patra, where are you? Okay, and I'd like the Columbia students also to please stand. If you may please stand so that everyone can see you. Please a big round of applause for all these young people who've done such a wonderful job. It's been a collaboration across the ocean. I'm not going to ask Geeta and Kate to stand. I'm just going to give them a big, big hug, and every time I see them virtually, mentally, physically, because they have been just incredible mentors, not just to us for this movement, but to an entire generation of young architects and urban planners who are informing us of a better way to do these things. So very briefly, what is it that we are talking about today? Just set the context of the area. Of course, I have no idea how this works, so we'll just help you to just move them forward as we move along. So what we've said is this is really a plan by citizens, and by citizens I mean all of us. I mean the business community, IMC which is here, I mean doctors, lawyers, teachers, students, everyone, politicians, builders, I mean even the people we abuse all the time. All of us are here as stakeholders together. And what we are talking about is creating public utilities and public spaces, as Geeta says, integrating this into our city to make Mumbai more livable, to make this a space which everyone who has talent wants to come and live in, so that we can attract investment, entrepreneurs, create more jobs. We talk about all the principles that Geeta has talked about and which Kate will elucidate on more. Really principles of smart social infrastructure and a healthy city based on sustainable living. Move on. We can go to the next slide. Now, just to set the context of the area under consideration, Admiral already referred to this. It's basically a 13-kilometer long stretch which goes from Vadala and Silvri down up to Colaba. And this gives you some of the broad statistics: 1,800 acres, of which we're talking about 1,000 acres, and which we have excluded 800 acres. Because as Geeta and Kate have pointed out, there's absolutely no reason to strip an area of its historical context. The Indira docks which are here, the Naval Dockyard which is here, Mazagon docks which are here, are part of the fabric of our city. They are creating services which are important. Absolutely no reason to strip them out. But I do also want to share with you what is the origin of this whole thing. It's nothing to do with me. It's nothing to do with the current set of politicians. It has to do with a very far-sighted Prime Minister of ours by the name of Indira Gandhi. And once again, this is not to go into politics. Different people have different views. But in this aspect, in the years of the late 1970s and early 80s, when the port was being developed in Nhava Sheva, people went to her and said, what is going to happen in Bombay? By the way, for the environmentalists, and there are many of those in this room as well, Nhava and Sheva were, they had protected environmental issues which had to be dealt with. So all of this landed on Indira Gandhi's desk. reviewing it, she made a decision, because politicians do have to make decisions. She said, no, it makes no sense for having a container port in a congested city like Bombay. We need to build this out, and you have a good draft in Nhava Sheva. We will build the port there, which we now call JNPT. But what will we do with Bombay Port Trust land? And in her hand, there is a letter dated 1980 which says that as the port comes up in Nhava Sheva, the non-operational lands of Bombay Port will be turned over to the city of Bombay for recreational purposes and open spaces. This is not well known, but it's something that we should all carry away from here and be ambassadors of, because this is a directive of a late Prime Minister. She then passed away, and it was ratified by the Ministry of Environment in 1988. So in a sense, there is very strong legislative ground for this land to be with the city for exactly the purposes that Geeta has laid out. Of course, now it's got a political context because it was the center of my campaign for the Lok Sabha. As Mr. Thakur and Mr. Shah said, we are delighted that the Honorable Shipping Minister has taken it up. And in a way, this is a unique piece of land because it is held by one entity. It is held by the government of India, not by the BFC, not by the Maharashtra government. It is held by the government of India, the Ministry of Shipping, and resident in the trust in the Mumbai Port Trust. So here is a unique opportunity. We don't have to deal with millions of landlords. We can deal, if the Minister of Shipping decides that this is a good idea, which he does seem to have decided, then all of us working together can hopefully influence the development of this land in a way that Geeta has pointed out, which could be to the great benefit of the city, not just for us, but for future generations to come. We can move on to the next slide, Pratima. The broad principles, I won't dwell on this because you have, the world's leading experts here in the form of Geeta and Kate who will tell you more. But these are simple, evident urban planning principles. Next slide. We talk of integrated mobility. There will be a fair amount of discussion on this. I request those of you who are leading experts in the field to please think about these ideas, because what is very clear is that the port lands lie to the east of the harbour line. And to the west of the harbour line, you have perhaps the most congested part of the city of Mumbai. The areas of Hindi Bazaar, of Nagpada, of Mohammed Road, Mumbai Devi, Baikala, etc. And it's important that we look at this in a holistic manner. What's also very interesting is that there's practically no part of the portlands which is more than a 10-minute walk from an existing harbour line station. So you don't have to put in a whole new, millions of dollars or thousands of crores worth of infrastructure. You upgrade this infrastructure, this is actually already the backbone supporting the portlands. What we as a group, the students here in Bombay and in Columbia, and our mentors in the form of Geeta, Mehta and others have suggested is we use water transport. Many of you have, I'm sure, been to cities like Hong Kong, New York. We have a beautiful waterfront. We need to use this. It's a protected harbour. You can have ferries. There was a time, I'm sure people will remember, in the 80s you could cross over to the mainland in 10 minutes by hovercraft. There used to be ferries from here to Goa. So we need to connect Mumbai with water to the hinterland, to the other coasts, but also to ourselves. Imagine going out on a Sunday morning, you can take a ferry at Sydney, see the flamingos, take the boat, bring your children, come down to Bhaucha Takka, have a lovely meal of Bombay duck and Bombay over there and some crabs, then take the ferry and come down to Gateway of India, have some golgappas there, have your tea there. And then we had planned that you would be able to come further down, visit the Vikrant, which was a magnificent, iconic ship of our country. Unfortunately, that part of the dream is gone. She's being scrapped as we speak. But it is a possibility which is actually very easy to implement. It wouldn't take more than a couple of months to do it. This is things which are within our reach. and we should consider that. Next slide, please. Clearly, east-west connectivity. As we've said, we need to look at the city as a whole. If you look at the port lines like the Millions, then it becomes a real estate development possibility, and you look at it as an isolated strip. That's not the case. We need to look at this connected, integrally to the city, and this, is exactly what Ita and her students have been proposing and working on since 2010. This is something which is very essential. You also see cycle tracks and park. There's a lot of our young people who are passionate bicyclers or cyclists. I can't imagine how they do this in our city, but they do, and we need to have more of them. Okay, move on. Next one. And the idea of social hubs. Very powerful concept. Geeta has shown you what is happening in Medellin, in Colombia. These are things where you can create beautiful spaces for people to get together. They could be around essential amenities like hospitals and schools, in our context around mandirs or masjids or churches, or around, even a little bit of shopping, a movie theatre, something like that. But we believe that there should be lots of these beautiful spaces where communities can come, and that should be interspersed in the area. Next one.